Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Never Seen It. This is a podcast about movies that we haven't seen yet. I'm your host this week. My name is Betsy, and I'm here with Trent, who is not LaBeef.
I'm not LaBeef. Where has Jefftember gone, Betsy? We're at the end.
I don't know. Of course, that reference is from 2010's True Grit, which we are not covering on the show, but we did watch last weekend.
Yes.
Because it's Jefftember, and I am extending that into my universe in as many ways as I possibly can.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the remake slash reboot slash reimagining, whatever you want to call it, of True Grit, Jeff Bridges is amazing in that movie. He's really, really funny.
To the point that he got nominated for Best Actor for the second year in a row, because that movie came out in 2010, right after he won an Academy Award for the movie we are covering today. We are going to be in 2009, and we are watching Crazy Heart. Now, I have seen this movie exactly one time, and I have to imagine it was probably somewhere around 2009, 2010, somewhere after he won the Academy Award.
It doesn't really seem like a movie that you would have been gravitated to just on your own. You maybe would have been pointed towards it because he was winning all these awards.
Well, that's the thing about Crazy Heart, and we could probably talk about this more when we get to his actual win. But him winning an Academy Award this year was sort of a surprise. He was not the name everybody was talking about come Oscar season. Everyone thought it was going to be George Clooney because he was in Up in the Air. It was kind of his time. Everybody was thinking that's the way it was going to go. And then there was this shift. The Golden Globes happened. Jeff Bridges won. And then all of a sudden everybody went, wait, what the fuck? What's about to happen here? Because nobody was expecting him to win an Academy Award that year. But we will elaborate on that after we watch the movie, as I said. But yeah, I wouldn't have watched this movie except that it was getting recognized. If I haven't heard of it, if I don't hear people talking about it, and this is enough time ago that, you know, I wasn't on Twitter. I didn't have this immediacy of all of these social media people telling me, watch Crazy Heart.
Yeah, you weren't plugged into the buzz of Hollywood and whatnot. You just read your Entertainment Weekly. You maybe heard some stuff from friends and coworkers and whatnot.
Oh, not even from coworkers and friends.
Whatever.
No, I was kind of on an island as far as loving movies in those days.
But the subject matter of the movie is not really one that you're going to gravitate towards because, hey, this is about an old, aging country music artist.
I was going to say, Trent, that's the next question. What
Yes.
do you know about Crazy Heart since you haven't seen this? And it came out quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, and there's really no reason why I haven't seen it. Obviously, I don't have anything against Jeff Bridges or any of the other people in the movie. I have heard about the movie here and there, but other than what I just said about him being an aging country music artist that was maybe popular a long time ago, and he's fallen on some hard times, and this is his comeback. Stop me if you've heard this before. Now, I don't think this is based on any real person. It seems like a fictional tale. I have not seen a trailer for this movie at all. I don't think I've ever seen a trailer other than back in 2009 when it was new. So as far as like other people in the movie, what the actual plot beats are, I don't really know. But as you said, Jeff Bridges won for Best Lead Actor in the movie. So at the very least, I am looking forward to seeing, okay, what about this performance is really special? Because we've covered 3 other movies so far, plus one more that we watched off the podcast. We've watched all these movies starring Jeff Bridges, or at least co-starring Jeff Bridges. So we've seen what he is capable of, but he's never actually won until this movie. So I'm really curious to see what we're going to experience here. Why is this special? Why did he win?
Well, then on that note, let's go and watch it. We are going to watch Crazy Heart from 2009, and then we will be right back. And we're back. Trent, what did you think of Crazy Heart?
Man, Betsy, if there was a movie that you could really point to and say, that is Jeff Bridges' legacy movie, It's absolutely this one. I had such a great time watching this movie, not only because, hey, he's a great singer, there's great songs, there's great acting. It's all about Jeff Bridges. And I couldn't have picked a better movie to end Jefftember with.
Yeah, this is one, as I said, I've seen exactly one time. And it was, what, 15, 16 years ago? It was a while ago.
It's been a while.
And so I kind of didn't remember anything about this movie except the songs, which we're going to get to.
Yes.
And it didn't leave much of a mark for me the first time I watched it. But I fucking cried again. I am 4 for 4 of these Jefftember movies making me emotional. And I don't know if that's just me getting old and sensitive or these movies are just really good and we picked a really good lineup. Maybe a combination of both.
Yes.
Because, yeah, he is doing the fucking work. It's the kind of thing when a guy like Jeff Bridges has been nominated so many times and he's never won, and then all of a sudden finally wins an Academy Award. There is a part of you that assumes, oh, it's a legacy Oscar. He's put in this 40-year career, and we're just going to give it to him. But no, this is a completely wonderful performance that is completely worthy of the win.
Yeah, he is definitely deserving of at least a nomination, if not the win. I don't know who all the other nominees were this year, but you know, when you look at a singular performance when it comes to an acting nomination, this man carries the entire movie. He is the movie because the entire story is surrounding him.
We don't see this from anybody else's perspective. He is on screen 98% of the film.
Pretty much. And, you know, obviously we have covered and seen most of those A Star is Born movies. We covered the Judy Garland one on the show. We have seen the Bradley Cooper one at least a couple of times anyway, and I really love that movie.
We just watched the 76 version.
Yeah, we watched the Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand movie for the 1976 podcast with the Revisionist Almanac. So I'm getting a whole lot of the influences from those movies onto this one, but you can just focus on the old country singer and not necessarily the new up-and-comer. You can concentrate on the relationship. You can really start to empathize with the man and what he's been through. And we're kind of joining him at the end of his life, the end of his career, as this guy who is kind of irrelevant in that his style of music isn't really in vogue anymore. And, you know, the music industry kind of moves on. And there's even a conversation here about what real country music is.
Well, let's talk about that because you and I grew up in a part of the country where country music is extremely popular.
Yeah.
You in particular grew up listening to a lot of country music.
I did not listen to any kind of modern music that was like on the pop radio stations or even listening to rock music or anything under the sun. I didn't start listening to modern music until I was about in high school, and when I did finally, I ate it up. But you're right, you and I both grew up on 90s country, 80s country, the Garth Brookses of the world, and that kind of really popular country, but also the classic stuff from the 70s and the 80s.
And we were around when country music basically tried to disown people like Faith Hill and Shania Twain because they were going too pop. And now if you listen to country music, it's all that. It is all this manufactured pop music. Once in a while you get a band doing their own thing, but they always kind of have that pop flair to it.
Or they kind of fall back into the fucking bro country of it all.
Yeah.
And it's, to my ears, it's kind of disgusting because what real country music is not that.
And they asked that question in this movie when Maggie Gyllenhaal is first interviewing Bad Blake. She says, what is real country? Like, who gets to decide?
Who is real
it?
Country these days? Because he's got a long history in the industry. He's not done anything other than this genre of music.
And he's not about to start doing new stuff. He says, what's wrong with the old stuff?
Yeah, it's the old stuff that got me to where I am today.
And I think you and I both like this kind of country music. We like old-time singer-songwriter
I was tapping my foot the entire time.
And it's not something you hear very much anymore. Most people who do country music now have followed the Taylor Swift model, even though even Taylor Swift has gone the other direction back into pop. but she started in this kind of like cutesy,
Squeaky
clean.
Jesus take the wheel kind of shit.
Yeah, and it's not to say it's all bad. There are definitely some catchy modern country songs, but the stuff that lasts, the stuff that I really like, is all this really old style, like Johnny Cash. And
It's the stuff from the heart.
I feel like I would appreciate Chris Christopherson, even though I've never listened to his music.
But what we're saying here is we don't really get down with the really manufactured kind of stuff. We like the stuff that is written from the heart, that actually has a message to it, that isn't just this manufactured bullshit that is meant to sell tickets to concerts and t-shirts and just bullshit. Now, maybe that perspective is coming from us being 40-year-old people and we're not really down into this kind of music now. Like, the bands that come to our town are pretty much all country acts. And
one of them is coming tonight. Like, as we're recording this, there's a big Jason Aldean concert in town tonight.
And I definitely put him in the camp of the bro country type of stuff. And yes, of course, it sells, it's popular. It doesn't mean that it's good.
And maybe it is, and we're just shitting on it to shit on it, but
I don't care.
This is our show, and that's what we feel like saying.
That's right. Man, we need to do a conversation pit about music sometime.
Maybe that'll be our next one, Trent. Check out patreon.com/neverseenitpod to hear those conversations.
That's right. But to kind of go back to our history here, this kind of music is the only music that my parents ever listened to. It's the only stuff that was ever on the radio around us because, again, as we keep on saying, we are from small town South Dakota, where the only other popular type of music, at least when we were growing up, was hard rock, which, hey, I got into hard rock and modern rock and shit like that. I have gone to many of these concerts. I've spent the money on the music and the t-shirts and shit like that. So I'm not really the one to judge people who are into popular country if that's the only thing that you were ever exposed to.
Yeah, you're like, I love this garbage music. It's angry young man rock music, and it's all mine. I eat it up.
Absolutely. And I'm not gonna be up on my high horse and say people who like this shit are bad people or anything like that.
I will freely admit there is music I listen to that is garbage. Like, I love it. It's terrible, but it's what I like, and other people don't like it, and that's fine.
Yeah. And you know, in 2009, when this movie came out, that craze of the bro country stuff hadn't really caught on to popular culture anyway.
It was just starting.
It was just kind of starting here, and maybe that's why they address it here, but they don't really dwell on it.
No, the movie is much more about this guy who is past his prime. He's playing shitty little bars, bowling alleys. The fact that this movie starts at a bowling alley and he just says a fucking bowling alley, and then you have an almost exact shot of him sitting at the bar with the alley behind him as he does in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, it's so great.
You can't ignore it. You know that was extremely intentional the way they framed that.
Yeah, and you know, Jeff Bridges really embracing the dude as a part of his own persona is one of the greatest things.
It is Jeff Bridges to some extent. And the only reason we keep saying this, that we're not covering that, is we've both seen it. So it doesn't qualify for this show. Someday we'll talk about The Big Lebowski.
I promise you guys, I'm putting it out there now. We will be covering The Big Lebowski on one of our Patreon shows. We'll make sure to let you know when it happens. But Jeff Bridges here, out of all of the movies we have covered for Jefftember, he actually gets to act and act his fucking ass off. Even though Jeff Bridges, the man, he doesn't really emote all that much. He kind of leaves his emotions inside, but there's a moment here when he is at his lowest, when he goes back home, he gets a phone call from Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it's the kid on the phone, and he is completely passed out drunk and very hungover. And he has to end the call early because he has to go to the bathroom and puke. So he runs in his underwear to the bathroom. He pukes his guts out, which I need to say, I know this is kind of gross. I think Jeff Bridges has probably puked a couple of times in his life, once or twice.
I think we all have trends.
Yes.
It's a full body experience.
Yes. With him, you get the full body experience. You can actually hear and see his body do the motions, let's say. I don't want to get too gross here, but he's going through the motions and the struggle that your body has to go through in order to get all of that poison out of you. So immediately after he does that, he kind of collapses on the bathroom floor and starts to cry. And I think at this moment, he knows that there is a problem here, but he doesn't know how to do anything about it. I don't think anyway.
Or at least he's still not ready to. You
Or,
have to
yeah.
hit such a bottom
Yeah.
to change your life when you are an alcoholic, when you are somebody who has an addiction. Anybody who is struggling for as long and as hard as he is, you know, sometimes with guys like this where he's an alcoholic, but he doesn't really think he's an alcoholic. Like, he
No.
knows it, but also he's like, I've got it under control.
They kind of talk about it at the first gig where, you know, he's hanging out in the motel room the entire day waiting for the band to show up. And then the band shows up and he's like, well, I don't need to rehearse. You can go and just listen to my CD and take the information from that.
Read the music, listen to the songs, learn
Sure.
them by.
I will be there because Bad Blake has never missed a gig, even though he might be very, very, you know, close to that.
Or he might run out halfway through and puke his guts out.
So in those moments there, because the drinking and being hungover, all of that stuff hasn't affected his work. It hasn't affected his personal life. I mean, very recently anyway, because the only people that he really hangs out with are the fucking floozies who are hanging out after the gig. Because it hasn't affected him that negatively recently, he has no reason to stop.
He's just kind of been coasting on his minimal success, and nobody's been relying on him for anything.
Yeah.
It's not until he meets Maggie Gyllenhaal and she has a son that he suddenly changes his tune a little bit. People
Yeah.
have expectations for him,
It's
and he doesn't
also-
know how to meet those expectations.
It's a reminder of what he used to have because he was married before. He had
Four
He had a
times.
4-year-old son, and those were the times that his drinking and the fact that he is a famous artist, all of that was the thing that was preventing him from being a husband or a good husband and a good father.
No, the thing preventing him from being a good husband and father was himself.
All of it
They
together.
set this up very slowly. You get the little pieces. Basically, he drinks too much. He's on the road too much. He doesn't put in the work to be a good husband, hence being married 4 times. And
Yep.
I don't want to talk about it. He also doesn't want to talk about having kids. When she says, do you have kids? He says, nope, not talking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
don't talk about anything personal.
And then later he reveals to her, I have a son and I haven't seen him since he was 4. He's 28 now.
Right.
And when he calls his son on the phone, he finally decides, hey, I'm trying to look for this woman. Are you related to her? She was my mom. And that's how he finds out his ex-wife is dead.
Which in this scene here, when he pulls out the yellow pages of this town that is probably not his, he has it earmarked as in he's maybe thought about doing it in the past and he just never has done it. But it takes him being reminded, oh, I am a father and I kind of like being a dad for this other kid. Geez, I'm reminded of all of the times that I fucked up and maybe I need to try to make amends. But he fails. The son wants nothing to do with him. You can hear the disdain in his voice on the phone.
Oh, what do you want?
Yeah, what do you want?
Too bad for you, click. That
Yeah.
kind of an attitude.
Yeah, you weren't there for my mom. You weren't there for me. Why do I need you to be here for me now?
And that's tough because I think there's a lot of guys like this out in the world where they know they fucked up.
Yeah.
They hit a point in their life where they realize they should have done better. And you're never going to get that time back. Like, no matter how much you want to make amends, you know, you can't. You
just can't.
All you can do is say, I'm sorry, and hope that they maybe want you to be involved in their life someday. Someday.
Make the attempt at the very least, which is, you know, he does it here, and that's more than what you can say about a lot of other guys.
Yeah, Robert Duvall says to him, you know what? You did it.
Yeah.
You put it out there. It's done.
He's got your phone number. The ball is in his court now.
Yeah.
And whether or not anything happens later on, who knows? But at the very least, you tried.
But yeah, Bad Blake / Otis Blake.
Otis.
He's a complicated fellow, and he spends a lot of his life doing all the wrong things. And so it's pretty appropriate that he's called Bad Blake and he refuses to like tell anybody what his name is.
Sure.
It's his persona. Bad Blake is the character that this guy is playing his whole life.
He's a caricature, though. It's the guy who is heavy drinking, heavy smoking, heavy partying. It's the kind of stuff that the bro country folks are kind of trying to emulate, but in a more, I don't know, flashy manner anyway.
Yeah, they make it sound fun when
Yeah.
Bad Blake is the reality. He's
Right.
kind of a pathetic
Yeah,
guy.
There you go. And when like Maggie is asking him about, what are your influences? You say that a lot of your stuff is based on blues, and it is. Because, hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but blues and rock and roll are kind of one and the same.
It's about singing about your problems. That's what the blues is I had a woman and now she's gone. I had a dog and now she's gone. Guess what? So is country music.
A lot of country is kind of blues.
Haven't you heard that joke? What happens when you play country music backwards? You get your truck back, your wife back, your dog back, and your job back.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a perfect role for him. Like, I don't know what it is about Jeff Bridges that allows him to personify this, because he's not a country guy. He's a California boy.
You don't think about Jeff Bridges in that way. You think about Chris Christopherson.
Sure.
This would have been a perfect, almost too perfect role for the guy, but he's probably a little bit too old to be, shacking up with Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Well, so is Jeff Bridges, but that's a whole different problem.
A lot older anyway, let's say.
Well, that's actually interesting, because one of the things that, I don't know who said this, but it was on the trivia page. If they were doing the Highwaymen, that group that Chris Christopherson is in with Willie Nelson and all these guys, if there was a fifth member, in his mind, it was Bad Blake. Okay. So they kind of are drawing this character from that same place. Like, I totally understand why the first thing you said was about A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Because Chris Christopherson is much more akin to this character. Bradley Cooper is much more akin to this character, even though that came out years later.
Right.
You can't tell me Bradley Cooper couldn't watch this movie and go, hey, I should make A Star Is Born.
Yeah, totally. And even the music is very similar as well, because in the Chris Christopherson version, he's kind of playing this country music twinged with rock. And as we go into the Bradley Cooper version, it's the same kind of thing. His character is very much just like the Jeff Bridges character here, which is why I'm getting all of these parallels where he goes to rehab in that movie and he goes to rehab in this movie too. But of course, the endings are very, very different.
Very, very different. And I do want to talk a lot more about the music, but first we do need to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Critics everywhere are raving about patreon.com/neverseenitpod. Superfan Stephanie says, all this for $5 a month? Incredible. Phineas Butterfield of the New England Journal of Medicine calls it available content. Betsy's grandma says, what's a podcast? Don't miss your chance to experience this phenomenon. Join today.
So in this movie, Jeff Bridges is playing a musician. And as it happens, Jeff Bridges is a musician. So it's a really natural fit. Are you aware that he has a band and it's called Jeff Bridges and the Abiders?
No, I don't think I've heard of this.
The Abiders, Trent.
Yes, I know. Yes, I get it.
Yeah, I don't know if they play together anymore, because obviously the man's 75 years old now.
Yep.
But at the time this movie came out, they were still very much a thing. And he's put out some albums. He put one out not that long after this movie came out. But I think some people still sort of forget that about Jeff Bridges. But
He's got a great voice.
Music is very much a part of his life. He played music in Starman. There's that whole recording of him and Karen Allen on the home video.
That's right.
He's playing the guitar. He's singing. Here he gets to bring that back again. And he does all of his own singing in the movie. So does Colin Farrell. And the songs are all original for the movie, because you need songs that sound like an old country singer wrote them sometime in the 80s and 90s, probably.
Sure.
And the thing that I took away from this movie the first time I watched it was that the music is really, really good. He knows T-Bone Burnett. And when the movie was kind of in development, Jeff Bridges didn't really want to make this movie because there weren't enough songs in it. They weren't going to make it about the music. They were going to make it about this guy, which is fine. But the music is part of it.
Yeah, this guy you're talking about, he was on the Lebowski movie doing the music for that movie, and that's how they kind of know each other.
I didn't know that he had anything to do with Lebowski.
Yeah. So I think it was Jeff Bridges who said, hey, you need to get me more music for this movie. They brought in this other guy who worked with him on Lebowski, and that's how they created the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so Jeff Bridges said, I'll do it, but I want there to be music. Let's get my friend. And so T-Bone Burnett and Ryan Bingham wrote the songs for this movie. And then they won an Oscar for it. So the song he's seen writing throughout the movie after he said, I'm not writing any music anymore.
Yeah.
He becomes inspired to write The Weary Kind. But that's just one of many songs that are in this. He's got Falling and Flying. That one comes up a lot.
That's probably my favorite one. That's the one that you have actually played for me.
Yes.
Like when we're in the car and it just shuffles to that song. It's like, oh man, I really like this. Who is this? Oh wait, it's Jeff Bridges.
It's Jeff Bridges. There's Get a Hold on You.
That's
that
pretty
one
good.
they've played a few times.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song he does called Brand New Angel. And then Colin Farrell sings a song called Gone, Gone, Gone. And I can't tell you how fast I went out and got this album after seeing this movie. And this is kind of one of those no skips for me. When it comes up in my music in a shuffle, I will always listen to it. Literally yesterday,
That's right.
one of the songs came up. I tweeted about it because I'm like, my iTunes knows that it's Jefftember because it was playing Brand New Angel. But this morning, knowing we were recording this afternoon, I'm like sitting making my coffee going, funny how falling feels like flying.
And naturally, my foot starts to tap.
Yes. But what's funny, when it was playing in the movie, you said to me, this sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's the fact I've played it before.
Yeah.
And I was singing it this morning.
See, that's the thing, though. It is a generic enough song that it could have been anybody.
It could have been literally anybody. This fits so in the wheelhouse of the country music we grew up with.
Absolutely.
Which is why I think I'm drawn to it. And they're both doing their own singing, and they both sound really good. This was one of those movies I was really surprised to see Colin Farrell in, because in 2009,
Yeah, it kind of doesn't fit for him.
it doesn't, especially because he's singing, and he's really singing. And
Right.
I'm like, wow, this is kind of the first time on film where I'm noticing what a talent he is. He's
Right.
not just a handsome guy from Ireland. He can do a lot of things.
We have said this many times. Every time we have done a Colin Farrell movie, Colin Farrell is maybe one of the most underrated character actors. He's one of these guys who is put into these leading man roles and to be this romantic guy, but no, he's a character actor, which is why he works so well playing the fucking Penguin in the Batman stuff.
But he's also capable of doing roles like this where he doesn't have a very big part.
No, he
he's
kind of
playing
just
it
fits in.
He's playing it pretty straight. He is the guy who learned all of his skills, all the tricks. He grew up with Bad Blake as his mentor.
Yeah, and the young people have kind of glommed onto this Tommy guy as he's the hot new thing in the country music scene, but he's almost built up because Jeff Bridges' character, he kind of wants nothing to do with Tommy anymore because of whatever falling out they had. But it's really a consequence of the management and the agents not wanting them to be together, because if Jeff Bridges is on the tour and on the albums, the Tommy character is not being featured, which means they don't make as much money.
It's hard to market to certain audiences when it's like a young guy and an old guy.
Totally. But
Sometimes
you know what?
people aren't into that.
Tommy is, to his credit, he is out there really trying to pimp out his mentor, saying, yes, this was the guy. If it wasn't for him, that I would have been nobody. You wouldn't have heard of me. Please, please, please praise this man.
And he wants to do another record together, but it's his record label that's like,
Yeah.
I don't think that'll sell. I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
However, he really wants Bad Blake to write songs for him.
Exactly, because some of his best songs were written by Bad Blake. So in the course of the movie, the agent calls up Bad Blake and says, okay, Tommy is offering you a contract for upwards of about $100,000 for exclusive use of any song that you write over the next 2 years. And of course, you also get residuals on top of that as well, because you are the songwriter. There's a lot of people out there that make a lot of money on just writing songs and have never sung a lick.
Well, one of them that I was excited about a few years ago, Dan Wilson, got nominated for an Academy Award. I don't remember which song he helped write. But Dan Wilson is the lead singer of Semisonic, and he has
Oh,
made
okay. Wow.
way more money writing songs for other people. You know that song, Not Ready to Make Nice, that the Dixie Chicks did?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, he wrote that song. He wrote Someone Like You for Adele.
Okay.
He wrote, oh God, I can't even think of how many songs he has written. There are some very, very famous songs that Dan Wilson wrote, and you have no idea. And there's so many more. Other people, like, I listened to this singer-songwriter, Ben Abraham. Probably nobody's ever heard of this guy. He co-wrote Praying by Kesha. That was a Grammy-nominated song. It was a big deal. Anybody who has been listening to Kesha for the last, I don't know how many years, will acknowledge that was a really important song in her career.
Yeah.
And there's just this little guy in the background who wrote it, and nobody knows his name. Same thing with this movie, to bring it back to Crazy Heart. T-Bone Burnett, I never heard of the man. I had no idea who that was until Crazy Heart. And then people started saying, this is the guy you got to pay attention to. And he was cranking out like project after project from Crazy Heart on, where he was involved in either writing songs or just writing the score. Like I kept seeing his name and I'm like, oh, you don't forget a guy when he's called T-Bone. A guy called T-Bone Burnett, you're going to go, I should pay attention to this individual.
And we could keep on going about all these writer-producer types like a Mark Ronson and even Sia. Sia was one of these songwriters that was just kind of trying to give out all of her music, and she was making good money doing that. But there's some songs that she wrote that nobody but her could do justice. Like that fucking Chandelier song. Holy fuck. Have you heard anybody else do justice to that song?
I mean, I don't think Kelly Clarkson's done it yet, but I feel like she'd be the only one.
She might be intimidated to do it.
Maybe, but if anyone could do it, it would be Kelly Clarkson.
I think you're probably right.
But yeah, she writes very big songs. But she wrote a bunch of songs for Celine Dion. On the last album Celine put out before her health started getting more difficult for her to perform. Yeah, Sia wrote a bunch of those songs. So these things happen all the time. But of course, in Crazy Heart, Bad Blake is like, well, I want to write songs for me. I don't want to write songs for other people, or I just don't want to write new songs because that's not where I'm at as a performer.
Because he's thinking about himself. Like the people who are coming to see me don't want to hear the new stuff.
That's always the joke.
They're coming for the old hits. So it wouldn't even occur to him to start writing songs for other people and know that they're going to be only sung by other people.
Well, then just to finish this conversation, did you have a favorite of these songs? Which ones did you like the best?
Well, it's the one I said before.
Falling and Flying?
That one, yeah.
Yeah, it's really catchy. And
it's a fucking toe tapper, as I said.
It's just very fitting for the character, too, because he says things like, I'm going where I shouldn't go. I'm being who I shouldn't be, doing what I shouldn't do. Like that sort of contradictory language that his entire character is built around.
Yeah, it fits his persona of being Bad Blake.
Well, we should talk about some of the other people in this movie. There's really not that many. We've already said all their names out loud. There's a very small cast. But the other person who has the most screen time right after Jeff Bridges is Maggie Gyllenhaal, who also got nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this movie, which I genuinely forgot about until I was looking at it this morning. What did you think of her in this film?
We always loved Maggie Gyllenhaal and everything.
I love Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
For some reason, I always see her as the actress who ends up being paired up with these guys who are way older than her. That happens a lot with Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I haven't seen that much of her stuff, so I can't really say for sure.
Think about it. Stranger Than Fiction. Her and Will Ferrell, very big age gap. I would argue there's probably an age gap between her and Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight, too. There's also another movie she made in the early 2000s called Happy Endings, and she hooks up with Tom Arnold, if you can believe that.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's complicated.
Why is Tom Arnold paired up with anybody?
Okay, it's like one of those ensemble cast movies where we're following a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So it's Tom Arnold, and then his son is Jason Ritter.
Oh, okay.
And she is like hooking up with both of them.
Okay.
It's very complicated.
Well,
she sings in that movie, and that is also a really good performance that I have the soundtrack for.
You have told me that Maggie Gyllenhaal does sing outside of just acting too. One other one that we've actually covered on this show, Secretary.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. For some reason, Maggie Gyllenhaal has an above average number of times that this has happened in her career.
I suppose. Maybe it's because she kind of comes off as older or more mature, let's say.
Or she can at least
handle it. She's not a little
it.
girl.
No, absolutely not. Like, I think it bothered me more in 2009 because I was like 24 years old and she's not that much older than I am.
I suppose,
now that I'm a grown up, like I am a grown ass woman, when I'm watching this, I'm like, you know what? She's an adult. He's an adult. Knock yourselves out.
Yeah. After you get to a certain point in your life, the age gap, as long as it's going up and not down, is less of a thing. Now, Obviously, Maggie Gyllenhaal is great in everything that she does. I have not seen a bad movie of hers. I've not seen a bad performance of hers. She is absolutely amazing in this movie, just as this gal who is kind of going off on a limb by allowing this old drunk man to hang around her and her young son.
And she knows it's a risk. She knows he's an alcoholic. She's not blind, but she's also intrigued by him. Like when they have their conversations, they sort of connect. And it doesn't always make sense, the people that you have a spark with.
Yeah.
But it happens. And she interviews him one night and he kind of kicks her out. But then after the performance says, "Did you get what you needed? I could always use a little more. Come back tomorrow night," because he's doing two nights of shows.
I'm doing another show tomorrow night. Come by the thing. And you could see on his face when he is performing the second night, he is looking around that bar looking for her.
You could see it the first night. So he gets up and performs, and then that woman, Anne, is like throwing herself at him.
Like I said, a floozy.
And he's not paying attention to her. He's looking over where Maggie Gyllenhaal is standing.
He says, "I am promised to another this evening."
And it's this relationship that inspires him to completely change his life. Because first he writes this song. He actually is trying to have a relationship with somebody, and he hasn't done that in a very, very long time, where it's like a real thing, a real connection with somebody. And then when he, is left in charge of her son, and the kid wanders off because he was stupid and he went to a bar. He went to get a drink when he should have been watching this kid. That's like numero uno. When you're talking about mothers, don't lose the child. If you lose that child,
kind of a big rule.
It's the big rule. It's the only rule that matters. If I am trusting you with my child, then you have to respect that. And he doesn't. And it's the biggest mistake he ever makes, because from that moment on, she says, "I can't forgive you for this. I'm really happy that you finally got sober." Like, this is the thing that kicks him into gear. And he says, "I don't want to be a drunk anymore. I want to get sober." He calls his friend up and says, "Help me. I want to get sober." And he does it, and he stays sober. This movie easily could have gone a very different way and had a very sad ending where this man just drinks himself to death or he falls off the wagon. There has been many a movie like that where it's bad, it starts to get better, and then it just goes completely downhill.
And with a movie like this, because we have seen A Star is Born in 5 different iterations, you expect there to be some kind of tragedy.
Well, especially when he shows up and says, "I'm sober. I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? I love you. I love your son.
Right.
I want another chance." And she says, "If you really love us, you'll leave us alone."
Leave us alone.
And that's the kind of moment where you expect he's going to go drinking. He is going in this moment to really fuck it up again. And he doesn't, which is great.
No, he crawls back to his guitar.
Yeah, he actually uses that for something productive. He takes that energy and puts it into his music. Cut to 16 months later, and he's given the song to Tommy. Tommy's made it a big hit, and now he has got a fucking cash cow on his hands. He has actually stayed sober, and he gets to maybe not live his happiest life because he runs into her again. He runs into Jean, and she's got the big rock on her hand. She's met a man. She's getting married. This isn't what's going to happen for you.
But he doesn't take this opportunity to say, "Well, I'm better than him," or whatever else.
Nope.
No, he's moved on. He says, "You know what? You deserve a good man."
He's also taken responsibility for his own actions. He's not trying to get her back. He is not saying, anything about trying to convince her to change her mind.
He says, "You know what? How about we go back and have this relationship continue on to be what it maybe should have been, which is just interviewer and subject."
Or friends.
Or just friends,
Be present in your life. And he actually does kind of follow through. Like, he knows he screwed up with his real son, and he's never going to get that time back. He's screwed up with this kid who could have been his adopted son, in effect, and he's never going to get to do that. But he hands her the fucking check, like the fucking royalties, which are substantial. It's a large amount of money. We don't see what it is, but by her reaction, it is a lot of money. And he says, give it to him when he's 18. So he's trying to make amends in his small way after living kind of not a great life and treating people like garbage around him.
Sure. And I would say at this moment, he even says in that scene, that's not even money. That's nothing. I'm just giving this to you because I want to. Just have this be my final act for you and for your son. And after that, do you think that they would ever see each other again? I doubt it.
Not unless it's another one of these situations where he is in town by chance. She's working the story. She's at the concert. Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe not.
But you know what?
Sometimes it's like ships passing in the night. That's just what people are to each other. Like,
Sure.
you changed my life, and we have to leave it at that.
But you know what? I would say you're talking about, the sons that got away, the 24-year-old son that wants nothing to do with him, the possibly adopted son that he's probably never going to see again. Tommy is his new son, and probably should be his new son, in the way that he can support him, continue to write songs for him, tour with him, maybe perform with him, maybe. He needs to embrace that part of his life, because music really is the only thing that he has had for the past probably 30 years.
Yeah, that I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. He is another kind of son to him.
Yeah.
And he's the one who screws that up even there.
And you know what? Tommy wants to have something to do with him.
Yeah,
he wants to be there.
Well, the reason it all fell apart, we don't get the whole story, but basically Tommy is married, or at least he was married, and he was trying to save his marriage, and being on the road all the time wasn't really working.
Hey, they have something in common.
Right. But by doing that, he had to kind of cancel the tour. Blake got screwed. He needed the money, he needed the work, and now he's out of job.
Sure. And he probably is resenting that because, hey, I lost all my wives and I turned out okay.
Which is why he's so pissed off when his manager says, I got you a gig opening for Tommy. Fuck no.
Fuck that.
Fuck no, I'm not doing that. He's like, it's a ton of money. You're going to do it. Yes or no? Let me have time to think about it. Nope. Yes or no right now? Yes.
God damn it,
God
yes.
damn it, yes. So to bring that up again, there are so many moments like that where Jeff Bridges gets to be that grumpy old man, Jeff Bridges.
Oh, I love him on the phone, especially at the very beginning when he's in the motel talking to his manager for the first time. Oh, it's so great.
Or like when he is yelling at the sound guy, he's like, I'm
Yeah.
old, I get grumpy,
I
just
get
do
grumpy,
what I
just
want.
do what I ask for.
Thank you, Bear.
It's him ranting about the fact that he was in Clovis, New Mexico. He drives 300 miles with hemorrhoids in his shitty truck all the way up to Pueblo, Colorado to play at a fucking bowling alley. Also, one of my favorite little moments here at the beginning of the movie, he gets out of the truck in front of the bowling alley and he takes out his little bottle of piss. Because that's what truckers do.
They don't stop for anything.
Yeah.
If you got gas in the tank, just keep going.
And, a guy like this, he is you never see him drink and drive, for one thing. He doesn't drink while he's driving. He's drunk when he's driving.
He drinks before he gets in the car.
Yes.
You're correct.
My point to this is he's probably driving straight there without stopping because he wants to go and have another drink.
The one time we see the effects of him not drinking are the first time he gets left with Buddy.
Yeah.
Where he says, let's go find trouble. Yeah, real trouble, like big trouble.
Yeah.
And they go to the park, and he very obviously, when they get home, wants a drink. He's kind of breathing heavily and panicking, I need a drink.
I mean, it's something that I can recognize here. When he's leaning up against the tree, he had a cigarette in his mouth, and he's trying to light another cigarette with the other cigarette that is already lit because that's the only thing he has. He doesn't have a drink to keep his nerves calm, so he has to keep smoking instead. I can recognize that because my dad used to be an alcoholic and a heavy smoker.
And you know the stuff that does to your body.
Yes.
And they address it here. He gets in a car accident because he's just on the road. He falls asleep behind the wheel and he rolls his truck. And he's not buckled in. He's fucking lucky to be alive. But the doctor says, your ankle is fine. Your ankle will completely heal. It's the rest of your body that is completely fucked up.
You got emphysema, you got cancer, you got everything under the sun,
you're at
buddy.
risk for all these things. He doesn't have it, but he says, you could develop emphysema, you could get cancer, you could have a stroke. You're 25 pounds overweight. You've got a lot of problems because you're not taking care of yourself.
As long as we're talking about the health thing, one thing that I said during the course of the movie, I said, I wonder if I'm ever going to see him eat food in the movie, real food, or am I just going to see him drink?
He does actually eat, but when he does, it's almost always a steak and potatoes.
I love that scene of him in the restaurant, and it's just a plate with a huge steak and a baked potato. Because, hey, he's a guy from Texas. Of course, that's all he eats, steak and potatoes.
Which is another reason his body is all fucked up.
There you go.
So one of the things that I did want to talk about, I addressed it in the beginning, we said it a few times, nobody expected him to win the Academy Award the year this came out. I remember in 2009, everybody was saying, oh, we're predicting what's going to get nominated. We're predicting what's going to win. He was just sort of assumed to be the guy to fill out the category because some of the other people who got nominated, I did check this. Colin Firth was nominated for A Single Man. Morgan Freeman was nominated for Invictus. I mentioned George Clooney for Up in the Air. I am forgetting the fifth guy who was nominated that year. But these were the people that were getting all the traction. They were the ones saying, oh, it's George Clooney's year. This is what's happening. And Jeff Bridges, having been nominated many times before and not ever having won, it's kind of like the Glenn Close, the Amy Adams, the people who get nominated lots and never win. He's just kind of there.
One thing I will say about that thing, if other people were winning like the BAFTAs and the Golden Globe, all of those awards are voted on by foreign voters. People who don't really recognize or understand the American country music scene and its history, people are never, ever going to vote for a movie like this, much less for an actor being in a movie like that.
That's what you'd think. But come Golden Globes night, I actually watched the footage of him winning on that night, right before we started recording this. And they show people in the audience who are kind of surprised. They're like, whoa. Okay, awesome. Even Jeff Bridges seems genuinely surprised to have won. And he got up, and this was my favorite thing, and maybe encapsulates best what we're doing here with this series. He sort of got up there and muttered, "You're screwing up my underappreciated status." Like, he is a guy that is often overlooked. He's a guy that is a well-respected actor, but people don't talk about him the same way they talk about
put him
others.
up on the pedestal of the George Clooney's of the world and all of these other guys who have been, winning, if not just being nominated. Yeah, Jeff Bridges has been nominated for Oscars, but pretty much all of them are for supporting roles. And the only other lead nomination he got for Starman, and he barely says a word.
And that was 20 years before this nomination came about.
Yeah.
So when he won, it was a great moment for him, but yeah, no one was expecting it. And this just wave all of a sudden happened. Everything completely shifted. And everyone was like, oh my God, is he going to win an Oscar? And he fucking does. 3 months before the Oscars this year, I remember hearing about this. I was at least paying attention enough to know what were people saying? What were people talking about? What were people predicting? And it was this sudden wave of Jeff Bridges. And all of a sudden, he's an A-list star, and he gets nominated 2 years in a row. He gets nominated for this. He gets nominated for True Grit. And he had already worked with the Coen brothers before.
Yeah.
But this was, reuniting them. A movie we covered earlier this year. He did Tron Legacy in 2010. He kind of made these big moves after he won an Oscar.
This was his big comeback.
Which he never went away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not even a comeback. It's the thing that officially made him a fucking star. He was an A-list guy.
I'm not saying he went away. All I'm saying is he came back in the way that the public consciousness was aware of him in a way that hadn't really been there since probably the 80s.
Or the late 90s. Something like that. Probably since Lebowski, frankly.
Still, Lebowski was kind of a one and done. Like, that came out, he got a big following for that movie and kind of nothing else in that period.
He made a lot of crappy movies around that time,
he did.
or at least not mainstream movies. There's probably some hidden gems there. But if you actually look at the lineup, it's like, yeah, between Lebowski and Crazy Heart, there's sort of this dead zone of Jeff Bridges' career. It's not all bad. I think he is good in a lot of things. That is the thing I continue to say as we've been doing this series. Jeff Bridges is consistently good. Every single movie we just watched, every movie we've watched outside of this, I think he's always good. Even if the movie he's in is bad, because he understands the craft. He understands being an actor. He has a great passion for it. I'm always happy when he's here. I'm happy that as he has gotten older, he's really embraced this dude image where it's just sort of a part of who he is. And anytime I'm watching one of his movies and he slips the word man at the end of a sentence,
yes.
it's there. Or like this one, when it starts with a bowling alley, you cannot ignore the fact this movie begins with him sitting at the bar in a bowling alley. There's a lot of great things about Jeff Bridges, and that's why we wanted to do Jefftember. That's why we have for years been saying, who is an interesting guy who has made a lot of interesting movies, a lot of good movies, a lot of things that we just haven't seen. And we managed to find 4 you hadn't seen and 3 I hadn't seen.
And that's very rare. Like
That's
when
very
we
rare.
have done our actor series before, even our director series last year, there's a lot of them that you have seen because these are big, big actors. But I am so glad that we were able to do Jefftember and the fact that we have really found some gems. Like, I don't think I would ever have sat down to watch Starman. I think maybe Last Picture Show would have been one that we would cover when we cover, hey, movies that won a lot of Oscars or
Stuff from the 70s.
Stuff from the 70s, yeah. Or even doing a coming of age series or something like that. And I'm so glad that we did The Fisher King because that movie made me feel so many things. We got to cover not only Jeff Bridges, but also Robin Williams in that movie. And yeah, I think because Jeff Bridges has been in this industry basically his entire life. His father was an actor. His earliest credit was him as a baby on one of his dad's movie sets.
Trent, this series takes him from 22 years old to 60 years old in the span of the movies that we were watching from 1971 to 2009.
And there's only 4 movies that we've covered.
That is almost 40 years of experience that we did in basically 2 weeks because we did the leap from the oldest to the newest.
Sure. And the most recent was 2009. That was 16 years ago. There has been so many other things that he has been doing, even at his older age. Fucking, he's doing Tron Ares next month. I don't know if we're going to be covering that right away or eventually. I have no idea. But Jeff Bridges has such a hold on us.
Oh, look, you made it about the song.
As podcasters. I'm so glad that we did this. Jefftember has been a really great ride. And I can't wait to eventually watch more of his stuff.
I'm really glad that there were only 4 weeks and that we're pivoting now to our October series because I can't handle many more of my own feelings. Because
Yeah.
the last 4 weeks, I have gotten emotional watching every single one of these movies, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I'm not going to do it anymore. If I will, it's going to be stuff in my own time and not on the podcast.
There you go.
So I think that's going to do it for Crazy Heart and for Jefftember. Now, guys, we have hinted at this in the very first episode that we might revisit Jefftember, but it's not necessarily going to be Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
So we're going to...
Believe it or not, there are other actors named Jeff.
There are more actors who are quite well known, also called Jeff, not Jeffrey. Not anything else. Not Jeffrey with a G.
We don't recognize the G Jeffs or the Jeffreys, just Jeff.
So we may do this again someday, but with a different Jeff. And you'll have to wait until we do that. Until then, we would love to hear what you thought about Jefftember, what you thought about Crazy Heart. What is your favorite Jeff Bridges movie? I put out a poll online and we got a lot of responses, but I'm sure there are other people who don't follow us on social media listening to this episode. We want to hear from you. What are your favorite Jeff Bridges movies and why? Or which ones do you think not enough people have seen that we should check out? Because, like I said, 50 plus years this guy has been working.
There's a lot we haven't seen.
There is a lot we have not watched. Send all those thoughts to neverseenitpod@gmail.com.
Well, you know what else they can do, Betsy?
Tell me, Trent.
We recently announced on our social media that we have 2 new platforms where this podcast is being, well, one source is going to be where the podcast lives, and another source is where our clips live. I'll give you the short version here. We are now on YouTube. For a while, we've had some people asking us, hey, why don't you put your stuff on YouTube? Sometimes I like to listen to podcasts on my television, or I have like YouTube Plus or whatever the fuck, and they want to listen to podcasts on there. Well, now you can.
Yeah, we don't have video, but the audio is still uploaded, so
Yes.
you can listen to it on YouTube now.
Yeah, it goes up the same time as everywhere else on the internet. All of the podcast episodes get posted at 6 a.m. Central Time every Sunday morning. So in addition to all of the regular podcast platforms, you can go to YouTube and listen over there. But in addition to all of the podcast episodes being up on YouTube, we're also utilizing the YouTube Shorts feature, which is just, hey, this is basically what TikTok is and what Instagram is, where it's vertical videos and Betsy's pulling clips from every episode. We put up, I think, 3 clips a week. At least recently we've been doing that. But if you want to just check out some stuff from the show, maybe check out some stuff that we've done in the past, go to the YouTube short stuff and you can watch the stuff there. But if you're not down with YouTube, you can also go to our brand new TikTok channel where all of those clips are living as well.
We're not going to be dancing on TikTok. We're not those people.
Again, this is not a video podcast. We have no plans to pivot to video like a lot of other websites and whatnot have. No, this is an audio show first and foremost. But for those of you who are interested, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, where all the kids are these days.
Or so they tell us.
So they tell us. If you want links to those, just click the link in every episode description. The link in bio thing will give you a huge list of all of our social media, the email address, the Patreon, everything.
And you know, they always say never read the comments, but Trent, we can't help ourselves. And sometimes we actually get nice comments from people.
What's nice about the internet is that kind of everybody is on the internet, so you get all types. Thankfully, so far, I think our pages have only been up now for less than a month. Most everybody's been very positive, so I'm very happy about that. But Betsy got a couple of comments that she pulled out of YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah, so the comment we got on YouTube actually relates back to the episode we're talking about today. So one of the people in Crazy Heart is Maggie Gyllenhaal, and we had somebody who checked out our episode that we did a few years ago about Secretary.
Yeah, it's a really nice coincidence here.
Yeah, so we got a username xoxo.alexa529. I'm going to guess this person's name is Alexa. They said, I love, love, love Secretary. One of my all-time favorites. We love dark comedy. This was so entertaining and hilarious to listen to. Loved that you put my exact thoughts about the movie into words, including all the weird tiny details I never noticed. Thanks for this podcast episode.
Well, thanks, Alexa. Yeah, one of the things that I am kind of finding here, now that all of our stuff is out there, people are just randomly finding really old episodes and commenting on them or reacting to them or just listening to the entire thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which a lot of people on our podcast don't really do.
We put up every single podcast episode on YouTube.
Even the bad ones.
Even the bad ones and all the really old ones.
Yeah.
So it all went up simultaneously and it looks new, but it's actually like 4 years old.
Somebody put a comment on there about our 1954, the version of A Star is Born with Judy Garland. Somebody said, well, her birthday is actually this time, or she's actually would have been this age, but not this age. And I had to comment, guy, this episode came out like 3 years ago. I know it says that we just posted it this month, but look at the details and you can see blah, blah, blah.
We're not good
weird.
at social media, guys. We're trying.
Yeah, we just now got on YouTube, so we apologize.
We also just now got on TikTok where we got a comment from Jake, and he actually was talking about our Jeff Bridges series, Jefftember, specifically The Last Picture Show. So he said, highly recommend you all check out the sequel, Texasville. This is a weird thing. We talked about American Graffiti in that episode and how there is actually a sequel to American Graffiti.
That people hate.
That people hate. And it's the same for The Last Picture Show. They take a great movie from the 70s and then bastardize it completely in the 90s. You and I watched a trailer and it was fucking insane.
Yeah.
But to complete his thought about Texasville, it's different and wasn't received as well at release, but I think it is a really apt continuation of exploring those themes and examining the generation growing older. In some ways, it's more depressing. I do recommend the black and white director's cut.
Yeah, we watched a trailer, like you said, for Texasville, and surprisingly, they got pretty much every single actor from The Last Picture Show in the sequel, but it's all in color and they're all older and it's a very different vibe to the entire thing.
It's also an incredibly 1990s style of trailer.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell what the actual tone is for the movie because I'm like, if this is the real tone of the movie, this looks like garbage.
Yeah, it was also written and directed by the same director, Peter Bogdanovich. So you would think that it would have at least an approximation of the same feel, the same characters, the same everything. But even you as a director and as a writer, you grow older as well. So I don't know. I have no plans on watching that movie on the podcast or anywhere. So if you really want us to do it, I suppose we can, but maybe way down the road.
I try not to judge a book by its cover, but the trailer did look drastically different from the film.
Yeah.
So I'll take your word for it, though, and maybe we'll explore it someday because we've talked a lot. There are a lot of movies that we've covered on the podcast that have sequels and reboots and things like that. Like maybe we do a series where we cover that extended universe, those extra additions to the things we already talked about.
Yeah, where we cover a movie like Point Break that got a reimagining, a reboot, or a remake, or whatever you want to call it, way, way later, but people hated it. It has a completely different vibe than the original one, and why would we want to cover a really bad movie just because?
Or movies that got legacy sequels 20 plus years later.
Right.
Some are good, some are fine, some are absolutely terrible. But then there's also good sequels, like you and I covered Rocky. You know, there's a whole lot of Rocky movies we could talk about.
Tron Legacy. Speaking of legacy sequels, that movie was a lot better than what a lot of people have said, and there's another fucking Tron movie coming out in October. So again, we've talked about it. We might do it eventually, but we got to be very picky and choosy about what we do.
Yeah, we don't want to just have 4 weeks of hot garbage because I think that would just depress us.
Sure.
But thank you to both of you for reaching out and commenting on those items. And also to anybody who's ever emailed us or reached out in any of our social media. We really do like hearing from people about the episodes they've enjoyed or, you know, maybe the episodes they didn't like. Maybe be nice to us. But
Yeah, be kind, especially about our really, really old stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because
We've
some of
said.
that is hot garbage.
Yeah, they're not good episodes, but we were learning, we're trying, we're growing as podcasters, which is why we started using YouTube and TikTok. It's just going to be a learning curve for a little while. But if you would like more content from us, you could also go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod, where we've got lots more episodes that you can go and discover. We've been doing this now for almost 2 years, so there's quite a few extra pieces of content on that site. And you can hear all of that for just $5 a month. We're constantly coming up with new things to do, new things to add. Can we squeeze one more episode into this month? Like we kept saying, I wish we had time to actually do The Big Lebowski in the month of September while we're
Right.
still in Jefftember.
Right.
But I was just in a show. I'm too busy. I don't have the time to crank out one
We
more
barely have
episode.
time to finish episodes, much
Yeah.
less do extra ones.
Right. So check that out over there. You could also go to anywhere you're listening to the podcast, rate and review us 5 stars, share the post, tell your friends about us. All those things help the show, and we really do appreciate you helping us out. But Trent, sadly, we must say goodbye to Jefftember. That's going to do it for this month. And, you know, I'm so glad we did this because I've watched a couple of movies outside of these episodes that I had seen before. And I have such a bigger appreciation for Jeff Bridges than I did at the beginning of the month. And now I'm hungry for more. So, like, believe me when I say I'm going to be exploring more of his movies in the coming months if I can find the time to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
But with the departure of Jefftember, we're going to be starting a new month, Trent. We are going into October. And you know, and I know, what that means for Never Seen It.
Because Never Seen It becomes Never Scream It.
Yes, we go into spooky season and we are going to be spending the next 4 weeks watching horror movies, scary movies, funny scary movies. I can't even remember the entire lineup off of the top of my head, but we have said many times, we are not big horror people. And in doing this show, we're discovering that maybe we are. We're working our way into being horror fans.
And not only can you look forward to all of the Sundays in October being Never Scream It, we're also going to be putting out a promotion for our Patreon for the entire month of October. Every Wednesday, we are going to, starting with October 1st, we're going to be putting out a clip of every single Never Scream It 101 episode from our Patreon, where you can get a preview of what you're missing out on our Patreon. So again, starting on Wednesday, you're going to see an extra piece of content in this feed that you're listening to right now. It's going to be like 3 or 4 minute clips from every single movie that we covered on Patreon. That is Never Scream It 101 on Patreon. Make sure to go and check out the clips. It'll give you just a taste of what you're missing out on.
And of course, we'll be kicking off Never Scream It here on the main show with a movie that neither of us has ever seen from the 80s, question
I
mark?
think it's the 80s, yes.
This is how little I know about this movie. But Trent, what are we going to be watching to begin?
We're going to start off with a banger. Betsy, we're going to be covering Hellraiser.
So come back next week for Hellraiser to kick off Never Scream It. Until then, we thank you for listening, and my name is Betsy.
My name's Trent.
We'll see you then.